We have looked at the extraordinary collection of paintings found in Long Melford in 2014. But how did they come to be there in the first place? And who was the remarkable woman who had painted them? Countess Ingegerd Ahlefeldt Laurvig was the daughter of a Danish count and a Russian baroness. Her father's family had 600 years of history to their name, and her maternal grandfather had been Admiral of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, and later his country's consul in Copenhagen. Ingegerd was 7 years old when her father was appointed Denmark's first ambassador in China. She would remain there until she was 20. Chinese art and culture interested and influenced her throughout her life. It was in Beijing that she had learnt to paint. In 1921, the family relocated to London when Count Prebin was appointed Denmark's ambassador to Great Britain. He would hold that position until 1938. After a failed marriage, Countess Ingegerd joined him there. It was during these years that all the paintings from the Melford collection were created. In 1939, after the Keepers of the Commonwealth exhibition, Countess Ingegerd put the surviving paintings together with others that remained in her possession. She was planning to attempt to sell them, and the catalogue numbers chalked on the reverse of almost all the Melford portraits, military and otherwise, is testament to that. When World War II began, her plans were shelved. After the war, Countess Ingegerd married Flemming Juncker, a Danish entrepreneur and landowner who had been a resistance leader in occupied Denmark. The marriage did not last, and by about 1950, the Countess was already living in Long Melford. No doubt, her paintings accompanied her, first to Kentwell Hall, where she rented rooms, and then to Melford Hall, where she stayed with her friend, Lady Ulla Hyde Parker. Lady Ulla had married into the Hyde Parker family in 1931, and Countess Ingegerd and her family had known her since at least that year. It is quite possible that their friendship went back even further, as Ulla was Danish and came from Copenhagen. The Countess was a regular visitor to the village during the 1930s, and it was no doubt during these years that she was first attracted to its peaceful charm. In 1954, the Countess bought a terraced property on Hall Street and named it Denmark House. It is still called that today. It was at this time that she discarded the paintings she had created before the war. They were now a remnant from another life. Her parents had both passed away, and London was no longer her home. She had not painted professionally for more than 15 years. In addition, many of the paintings were too large for Denmark House. She gave them to a trusted friend and expected that they would be destroyed. Instead, they were carefully stored away in an outbuilding where they were to remain for 60 years. Countess Ingegerd lived for another 33 years in Long Melford before she passed away. In later life, she was a much-loved character in the village, eccentric but kind, always ready to lend a helping hand. She travelled the world, bringing back slides of her journeys to show to the children of the village. She was a member of the women's branch of the Royal British Legion and involved herself in many other aspects of life there. The Countess had been born into one of the most important families in Europe, and from 1947 her brother had been head of that family. She knew well what a life of wealth and privilege could offer, but instead she sought out the simple life in a Suffolk village. She is still very fondly remembered there today. In April 1936, Countess Ingegerd Ahlefeldt Laurvig crossed the Atlantic Ocean in a cattle steamer, accompanied by a collection of her paintings that she was to exhibit in New York. As part of the build-up to the exhibition, she gave an interview for the Brooklyn Daily Eagle. It was entitled, "Life's Setbacks Make the Artist." The Countess had been in China when revolution removed the last emperor, and when the outbreak of the Great War ruled out her family returning to Europe. She had survived the earthquake that devastated Tokyo in 1923 and a deadly typhoon at sea. She also claimed that in the 1920s she had lost a husband, a child, and a fortune. An artist, she said,
is a sort of missionary in a detached world, releasing thoughts and emotions that no words can express. It is as if my ego fades when I paint. When I stop, I feel refreshed, as if I'd slept.
In 1939, as she painted the heroes of past conflicts, Countess Ingegerd was at the peak of her powers. It is surely more than ironic that later that same year, her professional career was ended by the outbreak of war. It is to be hoped that the rediscovery of the paintings from Long Melford will give the public an opportunity to reappraise the artistic career of a truly remarkable woman.